everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 12 of To Be Hero X, and I'm super excited because last week we got to meet and see a little bit more of Queen, which was nice. I like Queen's character a lot. I like her design so far. I like everything surrounding her and her morally gray, possibly in league with the villain's dad. But who are the villains, right? Is it the Spotlight organization? Is it the CEOs of the agency? Who is it? Who is the villain of this series? That is one of many questions. And last week, Whiteboard Coon did a complete revamp of the timeline, so hopefully things will start to come together a little bit more. But I've got some comments from episodes 9 and 10. I have not read the comments for episode 10 on YouTube yet, but I was really happy that the people with episode 9, everybody was pretty kosher with that, so that made me feel good. I was like, that was the episode I was worried the most about. I was like, but everybody had very similar concerns and similar things that they liked about the arc, which look, I have a feeling that the debate over what arc is better than what arc or what arcs are relevant, we can't really have that discussion until the end of the season, but taste is subjective, and things that I like and things that I don't like could vastly differ from everybody else in the room. So it's cool to have a variety of opinions, and it's cool that we all find different things we like about certain arcs and things that we find like nitpicky about arcs, because if we all thought the same, that would be boring, and nobody wants boring. So with that being said, with Small Screen Computer for episode 9 said, fun fact, while Cyan has different VAs for each language version and has a dedicated singer for her songs, Lo does not have a separate singer, and his VAs sing in English in each language version. What? That is so freaking cool. I kind of love that. And I love that he just sings the track for every version. That's cool. Nice. Or they just reuse the track for every version. That's really neat. I appreciate that. Sarah, CE5WR, says for episode 9, despite how disgusting the Dean is, it's an interesting path for a hero to highlight in the story with old Isol. He chose to continue being a symbol for the people, despite not being as active as he used to be. But the Dean chose to project his failures onto these children when he no longer could be a hero officially. Oh, that comment in Sarah's overall comment, I was like, yes, that spoke to me, because I feel like there's such a good distinction there between Isol and the Dean. The Dean left being a hero, or was kicked out, could have been kicked out, but left and then projected his failures onto these other kids in the orphanage, wanting them to become a hero in his place. Whereas Isol, even though Isol you could say was a sellout, even though Isol you could say like got disillusioned and despairing about his role as a hero, he did not project those failures onto other people. So I'm an old Isol stan. I don't know. I felt glad to hear in the comments that some other people were as well. I'm like, yes, there are dozens of us. So that was fun. Great. Love that. And then Tiny Truck, who has been helping moderate another series on the channel, Go Tiny Truck, and is a big aficionado of To Be Hero X, they had this to say about the PVs. About the PVs, I don't think they have anything must know. In my opinion, everything important gets revealed in the Donghua sooner or later. I did like that because I feel like I had a lot of issues with things that were not brought up in Cyan's arc, but again, sooner or later. This series is bouncing across the timeline like a damn ping pong ball, so there's a good chance it's gonna come back and hit something that we missed and touch on something that I was like, man, I wish we had more info on that, and is gonna do that later on. So there we go. They also said, but To Be Hero X is a multimedia project. I don't want to go into the details about that before you finish the season, thank you, but they were created as media to consume alongside TBHX anime, and they can definitely affect the viewpoint of the person watching the show. I think with Cyan, there would have been one detail that you would have liked to know, but even that is like, it's not gonna drastically change your thoughts here in episode 10. I feel so torn about whenever things like have lots of multimedia beside them, because I am kind of the mindset that you should get all your information out in the main series, because what if somebody misses something? What if they don't watch it? What if they don't have access to those extra materials? What then, right? like a Western audience may not have access to all of the stuff that the Chinese audience may have. So then where does that leave them? So I like, as a reactor, to go from it, unless of course the moderators line it up ahead of time. I'm watching another series on the channel where they have everything lined up for me week to week, and I'm like, okay, I gotta do this, I gotta watch that, I gotta watch that, then that's fine. But with here, I am gonna watch the PVs at the end, and it will be fun to discuss like what would have maybe changed my opinions, or what would have been cool to know ahead of time, or to just debate that. But it does make it very daunting, the idea that you have all of this extra material alongside the show you're supposed to consume. And I feel like sometimes the marketing team sometimes doesn't care if you're spoiled. It's just extra content, but I like the mystery of the show. And so I'm glad that I don't know about these things, but they would be nice to know about afterwards. If those of you listening, moderators, if you want to compile that, then let me know. But that feels like it's going to make it daunting as well. So we'll see. But anyway, I really appreciate everybody's comments. I appreciate all of your kind words. Even if we don't agree about the Cyan arc, I still like Cyan as a character, and I feel bad for her, and I feel happy that her and Lo are together, at least at the end of that arc. So whatever. And you know what? I tell people in my reactions, I am not somebody that's dead set in my opinion. I can have my opinion swayed. The right thing just needs to happen. So anyway, I got off work. I came here. I'm excited to start To Be Hero X episode 12. We're like, this is going to be the halfway point. This is going to be the halfway point of the season, of the series. That's crazy to me. But we're not going to waste any more time. Thank you all so much. I'm going to get started here, and we're going to look at To Be Hero X episode 12, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do it to it, Lars. Look, I thought Batman v Superman was a lot in terms of action, but what? They did not have to go that hard on Queen versus Boa. They did not have to go that hard, but they did. That was a lot. That was like, I'm not mad at it. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed, but that was some level of like schlock action that I was like, Jesus. That poor Connex company with all its freight carriers was like, we just got a new shipment of carriers in. We've just established a trade route for some international trade routes. We just got these tariffs taken down. Can't wait to start trade again. And then Queen and Boa come in and phew. Okay, I am going to have a calamity corner. We are going to have a calamity corner because I had some things this episode that I was like, I'm doing the slow corgi head tilt. However, I do think that this show is doing something very intentional, and it's kind of rage baiting me. And that is that they are intentionally taking these very sweeping gaps of time and intentionally not telling you what happened within those sweeping gaps of time, because it's going to come out later what happened in those sweeping gaps of time. Presumably, hopefully, that'd be great. But yeah, so we really just kind of floated between years 36, 38, and then 39. So we're kind of like in the Hero Commission, which being like 2 years before Lin Ling is a thing is wild. Being a year before Moon is a thing is wild. It's a lot. And Rec was starting to come in, so we got a little bit more of the timeline there. There's lots of things I wanted to read, lots of things I wanted to get into, but damn. Then there are moments during the action shots between Boa and Queen that I'm just like, it's awesome. I will say this. One of my favorite things about this series so far, as a whole, just on a production level, is its sound design. The sound design and score of this series is so good. And it elevates a lot of the scenes where there's a scene where it's not really as melodramatic or intense as it could be, but the sound really elevates it and kind of brings it up to that level. And I'm like, yes, nice. Also, the studio was like, hey, we have good voices. We are going to use them to their fullest extent. You didn't think we could squeeze in half a song in this episode? Joke's on you. I'm not mad at it. I'm just like, as somebody that's not musically inclined, I like music. I like bands. I go to some concerts. I don't go to a lot of concerts because it's not usually my thing. I appreciate good music. It's just not something that I seek out. I don't think I would, for example, I know Vocaloid is like in the zeitgeist, like top tier, recognizable. I'm not sure I'd really be into Vocaloid because I don't know. I think that I would hear a song and go, that's nice. And then, you know, what it is. But then again, I did watch Alien Stage this year. You should go check out those reactions. And that was a fun show. So anyway, who's to say? Who's to say? Anyway, we need to get started here in 3, 2, 1. I've had this rolling for like a minute. But man, look, as somebody that gets a headache from having one glass of wine, that right there looks like death. on a death on a coffee table. That much vino, I would be out. But it's just establishing that, you know, using a visual establishment that Queen is down in the dumps. Queen is very much, the melodrama is cranked up to a 10. Like, you thought her sitting on a couch with a long streaming line of like sunlight across her would be angst enough. Nah. Now we got moonlight streaming upon her. I mean, it's very effective. It's visually beautiful. I do appreciate it. But yeah, so she's kind of down in the dumps about it. And I wanted to go through and see what she was looking at in terms of the screen, because she's scrolling through. The fact that the app instead of Twitter is called FOMO is so on the nose and brilliant. I kind of love it. But I want to see, so all these things are just about her versus her fight with X, right? Immediately after. And it says up here, how did Queen lose just like that? And Boa, who is this good-looking guy? He's handsome and strong, and it sounds like he instantly defeated his opponents. That's too overpowered. I mean, what? Everybody's all about X. And then Modu Mao says, who is this mysterious hero? He just shows out of nowhere and takes the title of X. How could someone be so low-key and strong at the same time? Weak Jump says, at the moment, there isn't a lot of information on the mysterious X. Aside from this tournament's information, everything else about him is just speculation. You know what, though? We're going to put this down here because this is something good to know. So we start out with Queen and her loss to X. This could be a just giant play in genius, because in this world, it's what people think of you that matters. It's all about perception. So if X could somehow find a way to finagle his way into using a move or something to like one-handed defeat everybody he came up against, and people believed that he was OP and believed he was overpowered and believed he was unstoppable, then he'd become that. And he kind of sets himself up. So in my mind, I kind of view X like a magician. Something he's done. What was the trick that allowed him to one-shot Queen? What was the trick that allowed it to happen? And I feel like he's a magician that's using this trick to convince people that he's super crazy strong. And then that in turn is allowing him to use the trust value system to reinforce that notion. So maybe he wasn't overpowered. Maybe he wasn't unstoppable. But now everyone believes that he is. And so he's going to become that. And that's kind of, and he does it very smart. He gets his spot as X and then he goes, bye-bye, and pieces out. Because he knows, I feel like X has to know how the hero system works, and this is like 36 years into it. He has to know. He seems like he's in his like at least late 20s, early 30s. At least. So he's grown up knowing the system. So to me, you know, if anybody looks too far into the system and really researches it, then they're going to figure out the hero system is kind of a sham, and all these CEOs and all these agencies that are trying to manage heroes are just using them as fodder and just rinse and repeat and recycle them over and over again and taking advantage of humans for their own gain. What? That doesn't happen in real life. And if X were smart, he'd be like, well, I don't even want to be part of that system. I'm going to just circumvent the system and go around it. So bye, peace out, F you agencies, and I'm going to go. Now, one would question why people like Liu, who seem to know how the system works, hasn't tried to do anything else, because Liu is interesting. I feel like Liu, and this is just my thoughts about him because he's kind of an interesting subject. I feel like Liu, he wants his daughter to succeed in her goals, right? So he is kind of like, there's this conflict of wanting his daughter to succeed and kind of outing the like corruption within the commission. it's torn. He's like, I feel like Liu wants to out the corruption, but if he outs the corruption, then his daughter, who's now part of this system, is going to suffer for it. And she's been very adamant about wanting to be queen and change the system from within. And he's like, well, if it benefits her, it benefits me. So I'm just not going to try to do what I originally set out to do when she was a kid, because I want, things have changed. So, and maybe Liu has changed. Maybe he doesn't harbor those feelings anymore. Maybe he's been corrupted by the system himself and kind of has become, part of it. So there's a lot at stake here and a lot of questioning to go off of. Says, Shocked Fish says, mysterious man in white shocks the world. I thought it said mysterious man in white socks. I'm like, oh, the throne of X. The hero rankings have entirely reshuffled. And for her, who set out 11 years ago to make a statement and to be like slowly working her way up to getting that crown, to now getting to the point where it was right within reach and this rando came up and went, nah, I got it now, bye, and then just disappeared. That's pretty heartbreaking. That's pretty crushing. If I were her, I would feel very crushed as well. What I am glad is that she did not blame Cyan. If anything, I'm glad, because we get the callback here. There's a couple callbacks in this episode. Also, love the crown keychain. Adorable. We get the callback of Cyan being, called the blame for Queen's, downfall, which is not the case. It's not the case. I do kind of like the idea of this boomerang effect, though, that because it's not true necessarily, but the audience believes that because she was around Cyan, she got this luck where Boa lost, but then the luck rebounded for her losing against X, which is not really what happened, but I could see where the audience would get that idea, especially if they're kind of feeding into the gossip train that's about Cyan. I'm just glad that Queen did not buy into it herself. I'm glad that Queen and Cyan are still a support. Hey, listen! Where the fudge is low. Where's he at? If he's not careful, these two are going to become a new ship. And there's nothing we can do to stop it. So I'm going to put questions down here. I'm just going to put questions down here. Question, where is low after year 36? Where'd he go to? Isn't he with her? Shouldn't we see them again? Maybe, possibly. That's one question that I've got. So we're going to put that on there. Maybe Lowe's not invited into the sorority house, and he's not invited on vacation. That's for sure. We're going to talk about that vacation here in a little bit. So yeah, I just like that Queen didn't fall prey to the gossip train. Although this one guy saying Queen lost a critical match. She lost to a random nobody. How did that even happen? It just happened after the Lucky Charm joined the DOS. So then this guy says Lucky Cyan was actually a secret weapon, employed by Queen to bring Boa down with her bad luck. Like, that is something that's kind of an interesting theme in this show, where you see the gossip train and how much power it has. It honestly reminds me of, there's another donghua called Modao Zushi, and I'm not going to give much away about Modao Zushi. You should go check it out on my channel. Great job. It's a donmai, but it's amazing. Love it. But in that series, there is the concept of the gossip, and the gossip influencing how people believe history is in that series. And the way that the people believe history has been constructed is not actually the truth. So there's a lot to do with that, and it kind of starts to bleed into this. I've seen that a lot with donmai and donghua, where it's like the gossip train is kind of a big theme of you can't believe what the major population thinks. That bleeds into other societies as well. So yeah. So I bet Queen didn't expect to be doomed by Cyan herself. And of course, Boa takes offense to the suggestion that she lost because of another hero's ability. Okay. I'm just gonna put Boa here. I'm gonna put Boa here for right now. We're going to save it for the Calamity Corner. We're not going to talk too much about Boa right now, because we're going to save that for the Calamity Corner, and you can hear my thoughts after that. But she has these fear globules. They're all gathered around her, and she's found out that Queen is Liu's daughter. It says, oh, we get some ages. Yeah. Okay, so in year 36, family, Father Liu Yin, age 45. Damn. You know what? I'm 38 now. Dude, how's that life going? You know, you don't have to drink out of tiny martini glasses forever, my dude. Occupation unknown. Former journalist at DOS. Interesting. Former journalist. So as of right now, Liu is listed as a former DOS journalist, which that makes sense because I think the boss that he told off whenever the plane crashed was Ken. I think that's who it was. Maybe I could be wrong on that. But then here's the thing. So with that being the case, he left the DOS. But now he's like undercover for them? Because he's still with Mickey and still working for the DOS. So they hired him back, or he's working under the table for them. But what happened to the guy he went and met with? What happened to all that? Where did that plot line go? So, I mean, that's not in this episode, but I'm just like, where went that? What was going on there? Also, if he's 45 in the year 36, then 5 years later, so he's 50. So he's 50 by the time we get to Lin Ling's arc. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Also, that means if he's 45, that he was 9 whenever the Hero Commission started. That seems like a formative year. So, And so Boa is convinced at this point. Let's make note. It is year 36, y'all. Boa is convinced that she was set up to lose by DOS. It's just too much of a coincidence that the former journalist's daughter joins the Hero organization that he's no longer a part of, and that she ends up getting set up in the match to lose. So, I mean, from Boa's perspective, I could see this logical jump. I could see this leap. It would make sense to assume that. We, the audience, know that that is not the case, but she thinks everything was planned all along. I'm like, girl, you were making these people out to be Aizen Sosuke, and I do not think they need that credit. So, anyway, we're going to get past the OP. Eventually, I will see it. I was excited to get into Boa's backstory. I was really excited because I like flashbacks, and I like flashbacks with heroes because we get to see where they came from. And she talks about, basically started from the bottom and rose her way to the top. I do want to say one thing, and maybe it's a translation issue, but she's like, ever since I was little, I always told myself the only way to cut through the thorns was to keep fighting, keep trying, and surpass others. I was really hoping for a rose metaphor, because when you bring up thorns, usually there's something with roses or flowers or briars or something. There's like a plant metaphor thing there, and the English teacher in me was really hoping it would. So when she's like, you got to cut through the thorns and keep fighting. I was like, oh, okay. But I was really hoping there was going to be a metaphor there. But it's fine. It's okay. The idea is that she's rose from the bottom, and she says being born ungifted means I had to make up for it with 100 times the effort. I mean, let's be real. Let's establish here that Boa is brawn, right? Boa is clearly brawn, and Queen is brains. Because, I mean, she was the prodigy, Boa was the brawn. But here's the thing, the tragedy of it all is that both of them had to work to get where they were. I mean, at the very end of the episode, Queen, Cyan asks her, she's like, hey, friend, didn't you have any other friends other than little Johnny and me? Which we'll talk about that scene, because I had something funny come out of that. And she goes, no. And that's because she was too busy working to get where she is. Like, she sacrificed relationships, she sacrificed friendships, she sacrificed a lot of things to keep working to become this hero. And that's kind of what Boa has done as well, just in a different capacity. So the tragedy of this is that Boa and Queen have more in common than they think, but they just can't see it. And again, I was watching another series that was kind of talking about this, and this series kind of gets at it too. We talked about it this last episode as well, that, a lot of times it's people in society are trying to pit women against each other when really we should be working together. And this is a prime example of it in my mind. I really think it is. But yeah. And so this part's interesting. They said commission's youngest female agent. What? Like, excuse me? So the commission has an agency. We should point that out. The commission has an agency. I know in Korea that they have like where in a lot of Korean films and a lot of manhwa that I've read that you have to at a young age be in the military for a specific amount of time, and then you do your duty and then you get out and you go do whatever. I don't know if this is the equivalent of that and you just became it, or if she actually did go join the commission's military. The commission has a military. Was this when the hero agency was just starting or when it was younger? I have lots of questions. So I guess to tie to that, she's like, I don't want to become just the youngest female agent. So other questions involve like the commission and what it's like agents versus heroes. I'm hoping we get more on that because I just want to know the lore. So hopefully we get some more on the agency within the commission. They all look like snipers and mercenaries. So, or military at the very least. So she's like, I want to become a loved, respected hero. I don't know who this guy is. Looking over here like Beerus from Dragon Ball Z. And then this guy with the shades looking suspicious as hell. But she's like just, waving down somebody. And then she gets on her phone and gets shot while she's on her phone. I don't know why she gets shot while she's on her phone. Oh, okay. So right there, they shot. And what did she do? She moved and then got hit instead of the guy. Huh. We're going to talk about that. Okay, we're going to leave that up there. Okay, so she got shot instead of the guy. Interesting. And then I guess because of that, she couldn't be in the agency anymore. She has a habit of getting hit in that one specific location. Did she? I mean, I think she got stabbed below that, though. But yeah, because that was right by her collarbone. Yeah, so that's up by her collarbone. And she has this. How does she hide it? I guess since she's a hero, can she manipulate it? How does that work? I don't think she had that scar there before. So, we're going to put that on there. All right. Anyway, the fear globules have gotten bigger. We don't exactly know how the fear works in this. But she's like someone who's a cheap cheater taking advantage of their own father's connection with Mickey to get around. Look, I'm not here for bisexual erasure. Not at all. I like to joke in my mind that Liu is like doing Mickey favors. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm going to joke about it because you could say something like that. But yeah, their own father to get. But the sad thing is, if Queen is getting favors from her father's connection, she doesn't know it. She believes that she's getting to where she is on her own laurels. Do I think that Liu would go behind his daughter's back to make connections to get her ahead? Of course I do. Absolutely. He's pretty gray at this point. But I don't think that Queen has any idea if that is truly the case. I don't think she has any clue. But anyway, so these globs have really started to affect Boa. And she's like the dean, where she's like, if you want to destroy me so badly, I'll drag you down from your pedestal. Which, honestly, the crazy thing about it is that shouldn't you be targeting X? But I guess there's a reason why Boa wouldn't, and she's let the fear kind of override her senses. But, okay, we also need to talk about the fact that little Johnny is the best thing since sliced bread. I'm sorry, Little Johnny and Big Johnny, I would go to war for them. I would go to battle for these two. I really think that Big Johnny could come with me and win the battle, but I don't know about that yet. But Little Johnny and Big Johnny, they're so freaking precious. I freaking love them. He is so nice. He is so kind. He's just checking in on Queen, being like, hey, I got you some food. Just checking in, seeing if everything's okay. Big Johnny was worried about you too. Big Johnny, I feel like I said it in the reaction. It's that Brooklyn Nine-Nine meme where she's just like, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself if anything happened to this cute, adorable little sack of preciousness. Yeah. He's like, and Cyan isn't feeling great either. I could see why, little Johnny is probably really sad because he like literally has his two main friends that are off in their own anguish ennui. And he's just like, I need you guys to be cool again so we can all hang out and like have, more adventures together. Cyan isn't feeling great either. What Cyan needs the most is trust and support of those around her. It's so interesting that he's like trying to get to her saying, hey, Cyan needs some support. You okay? Okay. We're going to hear little Johnny exit. I'm just making notes of things to come back to. So the dad shows up and tells her about the whole plane situation with Cyan, saying, I was still a high-spirited journalist. I want to get to this. I was the one who found Cyan in the wreckage. I kept everything hidden and sent her to my friend's orphanage. So him and the dean, we find out, were once friends. Leo's got a type. I'm just saying. Like, I sent her to my friend's orphanage and hoping she'd be able to stay away from people's suspicions and prejudice. I didn't think things would end up this way. It was terrible luck. And I do like the fact that the dad's like, you can blame this on me. Don't be hard on yourself. It's my fault. I shouldn't have done X, Y, and Z. And he's like, I'm going to make a trip to DOS now. And she's like, what do you mean fix things? I like the poor little Johnny's Chipotle that he left for us just sitting there. Nobody wants that burrito supreme. No. And so he's like, the commission hid all the information about the plane crash. And I used my connections to get a hand on a recording from the cabin. Okay, so Liu knows that the commission hid the plane crash and that he had connections, which I'm assuming is the guy that he met outside that day he left his job at the DOS. So he left the job, got connections to get a copy of the recording. Okay. People in the comments have tried to be like, this is why he didn't get the recording copied. Just saying. And this is the last time I'll bring anything from episode 10 up again. Why a freelance journalist didn't make a copy of it to keep for himself, I will never know. Makes no sense, but whatever. He had his reasons. And so then we cut back to this scene. I do like that we get this connection of Queen coming in. One thing that's so cool about this scene that I really, really like is getting this like alternate perspective, because for all we know, when we watched episode 10, Queen looked like she was in command, like she was totally in charge of the situation. Everything was hunky-dory. And then when Ken said, oh, well, you weren't feeling well, what she meant was that she was in a downward depression spiral from losing to X, but that's not what was revealed to us. So when we see it here, it's interesting because from Cyan's perspective, Cyan has not seen Queen struggling. So Cyan sees Queen on her game, and Queen is literally only on her game because she knows this is a chance to like help out Cyan and start to bring things back to normal. And it's kind of cool to see this all like go back. So she's like, your singing gave me power and helped me out of my depression. And so we go back to that. Now, when did this happen? I'm assuming it was before the dad showed up to give her the conversation. I don't think she would have had the conversation with her dad, went back and sat down and pulled up the thing and listened to the song. I'm pretty sure it was like from the day before. So it's a nice callback that she got inspiration from Cyan and wanted to help her, and it helped get her through it. The song is sweet. I do like the song. It's a nice little callback to the episode. If you've got the voice talent, why not? Also, if you would also like to create a ship about Cyan and Queen, Lucky Strike, I'm all here for it. As a connoisseur of shipping and harbors and everything nautical, I'm all about this. Like the Cyan and Queen ship, I see the vision. I see it. Where the hell's Lo? He don't matter. Well, right now he's back at the orphanage, so he can't help what's going on. But yeah, I thought this was really sweet. I liked it. If you said Cyan and her just had like a big sister, little sister relationship, I would believe that too. I also like when she looks at Mickey like, bitch, we're doing this. Like, girl, smack this man around. You're like his prize, like hero of his agency. Smack him around. Make him do what you say. You know what? I find it interesting that these agents, the CEOs, are not in more hot water around their clients because their clients have powers that they don't. I'm just saying. A mutiny. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. But maybe it will. Maybe it will. So then we come here. Queen's comeback is 2 years later. Queen's comeback. As we're having the 19th attorney. Or it's actually like, it's right before. So she's got her armor and everything. It's the Queen's comeback. Oh, okay, yep. Right. As she's about to go. Okay, so she's going out into the world, you know, saving the day, fighting crime. I like the angel. The angel statue is pretty cool. That CG car. And she's there to save everybody. Nice. Okay, so let me go back to this. I'm going to erase this. It's not time for the tournament yet. Her comeback into the hero world is literally right here. Okay. As she's saving these folks from villainy and all that sort of thing. It's Queen. Queen is here. So yeah, then we have, what the fudge is this? I want to see what this thing was. I'm sorry, what? What? A lab researcher, publicly condemned for a work error, became corrupted by fear and triggered chaos and panic. Okay. Okay. So we have the idea that at this point, I don't know, we'll save it for the Calamity Corner, but fear has started corrupting more and more. Okay. And clearly is causing them to turn into like pseudo villains, which the boss, this is kind of insane. Like, he looks like a character from Regular Show. What? And why does he have bombs? What is happening? We have lots of things to say. But yeah. So anyway, people are getting corrupted by fear, and the heroes are stopping them. So that is a thing. I keep looking at like this sign that says grateful on it. I keep seeing this sign that says grateful, and that's kind of cool. Also, there's like a number 4 there. Is that supposed to be the number 4 hero? I don't know. Interesting. Looking at the background to see if there's anything we're missing. I feel like I should, but I haven't seen anything lately to focus on in that regard. But anyway, so Queen intercepts, gets through all of these missiles, and then manages to stop this creature consumed by fear that has become a villain. Interesting. And she manages to stop it. I mean, it's very impressive. I love it. And then she sets herself up. Okay. Oh, so here we go. Analyzing data. Hero X. File cracking. 5% in progress. Oh, we're doing some investigative research, are we? Internal confidential version 2.0. Okay. So here we have Rock. Okay. So Uncle Rock. Relationship poor. I'm guessing is that relationship with... I guess that's relationship with X. So here we have X and his relationship. So we are not in a relationship with Uncle Rock. Uncle Rock and X are not, they're not in a, clearly they are not allies with one another. Then we have this woman who looked kind of like Queen at first, but she has like all these sparkles around her. There's like something... We don't have a name for her. Is she the one from episode 1 that had like the black hair on the poster with X? We don't... Relationships under investigation. Well, they don't even know who she is. Then we have Rebellious Hero 9. Suspected ally. So Hero 9 seems to be an ally. We don't know them, but they have like an interesting design. Then there's Wreck. And Wreck, record of previous battle. They fought. So we did get mention of Rec. That's interesting. That also tells us in the year 38 that Rec and Nice were around in year 38. So that at least gives us a little bit more of the timeline coming together. But what? He's like triple S. S minus A. We don't know about this mysterious woman. She seems interesting, though. Curious. So they're trying to find leads on X and where he might be and what's going on. But they didn't do any, like, subtitles or anything, so we don't know what they were saying, which is annoying. Very annoying. But what we do know is that they are trying to gather data on X. So he's disappeared. Nobody knows where he is. He's fought Rec at some point. That's interesting. How might that be connected to Nice? I don't know. And then Hero 9 is potentially an ally. We don't know Hero 9. And then the woman with the long, crazy hair that looks really super cool, like a Final Fantasy character. Don't know who she is. Cool. Nice. Great. So yeah, then it says the night before the 19th tournament. So we had the 19th annual tournament where Queen thinks that she's going to face X. She thinks she's going to face off against him. Well, that would have been nice. That would have been nice. So Cyan and I have been waiting for you all day. Are you still not coming back? So where was he? Oh, no. Oh, Cyan and little Johnny are back there. Okay. She's like, I'm finishing up some things on my end. Why are you guys waiting? The new round of ranking matches are set to begin, and you're still on a mission. So yeah. He's like, do you remember the last tournament? Cyan came to give you good luck, and you rejected her. Don't waste time on her goodwill again. So yeah, I like that they have this nice friendship. Love little Johnny, love big Johnny. And then Boa shows up, which I have things to say. But those are for the Calamity Corner, not for now. What I do want to say is that Boa looks great. What I also want to say is that this match that starts at like 11:30 and goes for like 9 minutes, goes for 8 minutes straight. Like an 8-minute long, straight up, just action for 8 minutes. Like just pure action for like 7 to 8 minutes is crazy. Crazy. Of all the battles we've had so far, this one's gone the hardest. Like, this went harder than Lindling versus Enlightener. This went harder than Cyan versus everyone else. This went harder than any other battle we've had. Isol versus Isol. This has been, like, the hardest battle with some of the best choreography and scenes in it. And it just is what it is. I'm kind of baffled, honestly. Okay, also I want to say, I do like Queen's design. I do like her weapon and everything, her little shovel axe. I think there's a character from One Piece that has a similar tool. But the axe that Boa has that becomes a spinning, like, death destructo disc, like what Frieza uses in Dragon Ball Z, is such a cool concept, and I'm kind of all about it. I'm kind of all about it. Also, did her axe always have that X in it? Did her axe always have the X in it? Or is that something that's new? Is X connected to fear? Who knows? Don't know how that works, but maybe. There's just a lot of destruction. And, I mean, there's no people around, but the collateral damage to this poor Worf is just, it's so much. I do appreciate, like, they went all out on this. And I appreciated, like, both of these women just fighting entirely. And I did like the concept here. I liked how Boa looks with the gold around her, where she's like, power is set to rules within, your power is rules within a boundary. So rules are, I like that she takes advantage of the concept of a loophole. But then by the end of it, Queen is like, yeah, but rules not only can be broken, they also can be strengthened. So it's just like who had the stronger will, essentially. But yeah, attacking heroes before placement would result in heavy punishment from the commission. She doesn't seem concerned about that. Also, she seems like she is stuck in the past. Like, she keeps talking about what happened 2 years prior, and Queen's like, you still on about that? After all this time? But yeah, this was such a crazy match. There's not much to talk about the match, except the choreography is great. The soundtrack was amazing. The fight and everything. I mean, props and kudos to the animators because it just looks impressive. It's like overkill, but it looks. I'm sitting here being like, we are halfway through the season, true, but this is like Boa and Queen. Like when we get to like, you know, are there going to be heavier matches? Are there going to be more matches that are more crazy than this one? I'm assuming so. What else are y'all going to do? I feel like they threw out the kitchen sink with this fight. What else can you do? This was just all out. What a brawl. So Queen points out that Boa's powers have diminished and that her attacks are getting stronger. Why is that the case? And she's like, well, you've been privileged, so you've had everything handed to you, so your strength is not real. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but then how are you still getting strong? And the answer is the fear, but how does that work? So, well, I guess we'll find out. She's like, there's no way I'm just handing over the title of X. Now, Boa is like lost in the past because she thinks she still has the title of X. She's already lost it to X and lost it again as of after this match. So, and Queen even points out, she's like, you're not even in the top 10 anymore. So you can't fight in these matches. And I feel like Boa's so stuck in like repeat of 2 years that when Queen is like, you aren't even going to be allowed in the matches to get your title back. You're not in the top 10 anymore. That just kind of sends her over the edge. Also, I guess this ship's just destroyed. Titanic be damned. The collateral damage is unreal. Mickey's like, who am I going to have to get a hold of to get this situation rectified? You know? He's like, we're going to send this girl on a vacation so she doesn't wreck any more shit and cost me millions of dollars in repair damages. We're going to talk about that vacation. I'm suspicious of that entirely. Highly suspicious. So yeah, so this fight goes on. Again, this is like a 7-minute fight. It is just straight up action for 7 minutes. And then she talks about how rules can bind others, but it can bring strength to others as well. You know what? I would be like Queen. I'd like to think I don't micromanage like Queen does, but I do have a strong sense of justice and a strong sense of the rules. I don't like rules being broken. I feel like that's part of the teacher in me. There's a syllabus, there's a guideline, there's a rubric. All you have to do is follow it. It's not hard, but you just have to do it. And I feel like that rules do give us like a focus and some kind of anchorage, and it's not just chaos. Some people thrive on chaos, and I respect that, but that's not me. I cannot thrive on spontaneity and chaos. I can't do that. This is just so excessive. So then she like stabs her. Now, did she stab her right where the scar was? Did she stab at the scar? In the shot now, it kind of looks like it's right at the scar. So maybe the scar tissue protected her. Maybe. That's like right at the heart, though. We're going to save it for the Calamity Corner. But yeah. So I want to see what she looked like there. Because she pulled it out. She's like, I'm not going to lose to a cheap cheater like you. Now, here, she said enough. And she has the cut there. And she's like, I'm going to kill you. And then I'm going to win back the tournament and take back my crown. And that's when she tells her, wake up. You've already fallen out of the top 10. You lost the right to participate in the matches. And that's when she fell down. Now, when they show up, we cut to, I thought we were actually going to cut to like Boa dying. I thought Boa was going to like die in the hospital, but instead we cut to Queen. And they're like, you had all these injuries. So, I mean, yeah, we're going to talk about that. The injuries. She did have that cut on her shoulder. She did have that one there. I didn't see that cut that was on her side and everything, but maybe, I didn't see the cut that was here. It didn't show that when she was with Boa. Maybe she had it. Maybe she got knocked unconscious. We're going to talk about it in the Calamity Corner, but I didn't think that the injuries were that severe. But anyway, they find out that the matches are already over, and X won the crown. Damn, showing that image of her on the screen is crazy. I did like that Cyan showing up, being happy that she was okay, and little Johnny as well. I'm glad that Queen did not fall into a depression spiral like she had previously. And I'm glad she didn't get mad and get enraged over not being able to participate when Cyan came to cheer her up. I did like that, because you would expect her to fall into like this doom spiral, to get wrapped up in being angry about losing. And instead, when Cyan shows up to like say, hey, oh my God, I'm so sorry this happened to you, she lets it like all just kind of go, she just lets it all out and it ends up being okay. Like, I thought that was well done. I liked that. I liked that part a lot. And then Cyan be saying, don't be too hard on yourself. You don't have to shoulder everything alone. We're right here by your side. Like, that was so sweet, because I feel like even though the dad has been by her side the whole time, she hasn't had a friend that said that to her. So I'm glad Cyan is there for her. And little Johnny and Big Johnny too. So a year later, she's healing up. She's healing up, getting ready to make her comeback again. Has been doing some Pilates. And she gets the call saying, I've almost fully recovered. Whenever you get a call from your boss and they're like, we need to talk, that's not usually a good thing. And I was like, uh-oh, what is this? Then we find out she's been sent with Cyan on vacation. Okay. So Cyan and Queen are on vacay. Okay. That's interesting. And so she's like, I need to be in the public eye. And she's like, well, I'm on vacation with you. Don't give me any more anxiety. So she asked her if she had any other friends, and she said no. And then I do love that Cyan's like, oh, did you experience something bad when you were a kid? Like your parents died in a plane crash, or you were like abducted by a cult and used for their benefit. and then Queen is like, no, I just was kind of like a brat. And Cyan's like, oh, that's okay. Like, I love Cyan. She's great. And I'm glad that they don't judge each other. She's like, I should thank you. It's because of you I've been able to hear that other voice in my heart. I'm like, girl, you got some multiple voices in there? And then she's about to go into more detail about it, and instead we see this giant-ass kaiju. Now, is this kaiju, is this little Johnny? Is this Big Johnny? Is this him? Because he kind of looks like the poster. Maybe a little bit, only he's green and black instead of red and white, like in the poster. Is this Big Johnny? I don't know. But we have a kaiju that they run into. Is it Big Johnny? Why would he be there? What's going on? I don't know. Has someone been... Why be sent on this mission? Why be sent on a vacation? That seems so suspicious. That seems like you've been training for a year. Get ready to go back in the public eye. And they're like, actually, you and Cyan should go on a vacation together. Sure. I wonder if they send her away because they're going to do some shady shit and they don't want her around. So they send her away to like get her out of the public eye, to get her out of sight, out of mind, so that she can't go snooping around where she doesn't need to. And maybe they sent Cyan with her to try and use Cyan's luck to make sure nothing bad happened to her. Don't know how it's working now because kaiju's come out of the nowhere, and they're about to run off the road, but maybe it's Big Johnny. Maybe they're going to be like, hey, we're coming on vacation with y'all too. I don't know. I'm very curious to see what we'll get on that. I don't know. I do have some things for the Calamity Corner that I want to talk about. But this episode, I really like Queen's character. And I want to see more of her. But I'm like, are they about to get her out of the series? And just send her on vacation? And not explain it? But you know what? This episode's given me a little bit more faith in the show because we are starting to see things match up a little bit. So I am having a little bit more faith that they'll tie back and do things like that. So I'm curious. I'm very curious indeed. But I've got some Calamity Corner things I want to talk about with you all, though. And these are not, I'm not meaning these as things that are necessarily like bad about the show, but things that I am curious about that I'm like, what are we doing? That if they're not answered, I'm going to be like, but why? So, first of all, where's Lo? I guess he's not. I mean, does he know about the vacation? Does he become this kaiju? I don't know. So where's he been at? I guess we're just abandoning the plot with him entirely. I mean, I understand why at the beginning of the episode he's not there, because he's at the orphanage. But year 39, he's there. I guess we don't see him. I guess that's not important or relevant at the moment. Boa and the fear. I get that we're getting like all of these glimpses that fear is a factor and that it's connected to the Spotlight organization. They're using fear to make villains, and you feed off of fear, not only of yourself, but you get people afraid of you, and then you feed off of that too. It's like the Negaverse. It's kind of like Sailor Moon. But it's so wild. Like the dude that was the lab worker, what? Like it's because the lab worker thing was like year 38, which is 2 years after the orphanage incident, 2 years after Boa is infected with it, and now it seems like just random people are starting to get infected and run rampant. How has the commission like infiltrated these people and like taken them into custody and like experimented on the fear and seen what's going on and what it is? Is everybody just in the dark being like, I don't know why these zombies are springing up? Oh, like where's the investigation into that? Like, I would love to see more of that. Like, why are we investigating the fear affecting random workers and not just heroes? Should we maybe look into that a little more? Is it happening and we're just not seeing it? That would be a good question to ask. The agents versus the heroes, I just want to see more on that. Like, what is the commission agents? Are they just mercenaries? Are they just like, is it like S.H.I.E.L.D.? Is it like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where they're not superheroes, but they're like surrounding them? A little clarification would be kind of cool. That would be nice. Boa getting stabbed in the heart, y'all. If you told me that the scar tissue protected her lungs from getting pierced, how is that girl not dead? How's she not dead? I don't know. I mean, it's one thing to get shot and like a bullet goes clean through or something, but this was like a stabbing and her bleeding out. How's she not dead? I don't know. Then there is the okay, this one scene, I'm going to go back to it just in a pacing factor. I love little Johnny showing up to try to give her the food, and then little Johnny leaves. But if you watch that scene, like there is no moment of little Johnny, like, you know, because it's him up against the door being like, hey, we should go protect and go support Cyan. And, you know, I could understand if they just showed him like standing there and him kind of going and turning away. But then it like immediately cuts to the dad being like, hey, I need to tell you something I've never told anyone before. And I was like, what? What is this pacing? That was such a weird moment. That was a weird choice. Like, to have the dad immediately be like, hey, for the sake of plot convenience, I need to tell you this stuff about Cyan now that I haven't told you in 11 years because it didn't come up. But then again, I get why he did it, because all this stuff about Cyan, the pacing of little Johnny just being there and suddenly like he evaporated and Liu was there. The pacing was weird in that moment. I don't know, but I get why he told her, because it was relevant. Cyan was getting all this gossip about her and he's like, we could fix things together. I get it. That part makes sense. It's just the pacing of him immediately being there that's kind of weird. Then the axe with the X is interesting. I like that. My question about the stab at the scar. Yeah, my question about Boa is really about the timeline. Like, she got infested with the fear in year 36. What was she doing for 2 years? Because Queen's like, oh, you fell out of the top 10. I'm like, she sounds like she's been kind of psychotic for 2 years. Did nobody know what to do about that? Did nobody check on her? Did Mickey go, she's acting really weird and like kind of homicidal towards Queen? We'll just ignore it for 2 years? For 2 years? Like, what? That part of the timeline is the most glaring thing that I'm like, what do we do with that, right? What do we do with that? And then as far as the injuries go, I don't know if the injuries were caused by someone else, because she just fell to the ground. So did she just already have the injuries there and was bleeding out? Did someone cause it? There is one other aspect about, like, right now in this episode, the only thing that's kind of glaring for me is, like, that Boa was for 2 years wallowing in fear and nobody noticed or did anything about it. I'm like, that's weird to me. The other thing is, one thing that I'm kind of sad about is episodes 1 through 4, every time you looked in the background, there were things to look for. Like, I've been trained from Link Click and Lee Hao Lin that those first, like, anytime you have background shots, you need to, like, look for things in the background because there's something going on. I was kind of disappointed this episode, and honestly, for the last several episodes, like, there's nothing to look at in the background that's, like, giving any hints or clues. Like, all those really cool little, like, secret Easter egg things, they're just not there. There's the Grateful in the 4, but I don't know what that means, but that's, like, the one shot, like, within the last 3 episodes that's had, like, stuff to pay attention to in the background, and I miss that. I want more of that. I want more of that because it makes it, like, it makes it feel like a big puzzle box that you're trying to figure out, and we've not had that lately, and that's sad. But it is what it is. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I really like this episode. I like Queen a lot. Boa's okay. I liked her backstory. I would have liked more of it. I would have liked more, like, lead up to Boa getting mad and getting frustrated and it, like, kind of building. I would like more of that. I feel like the show does expect you to make some leaps that I'm not mad at, but I would like to have more context. So, and maybe that's things that we'll find out. Again, I can't say too much because I'm like, maybe they're going to show us in a future episode, we're going to go back to Boa and get more information. So I could be proven wrong. Could be proven wrong. But anyway, I'm excited. Next week, we're going to see, like, what this vacation is about. Why is there a kaiju? What is happening? What's going on? I don't know, but if anything, I am excited to hear your thoughts down below. I hope you enjoyed this reaction and discussion. Please make sure to give a like to this video. Please make sure to subscribe if you want to see me talk about To Be Hero X every week. And let me know your thoughts down below. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah! I'm excited because next week we're going to be back and looking at episode 13 of To Be Hero X. And I'll see you then.